Damichael Cole? My man, Damichael Cole. Memphis Commercial Appeal, covers the Grizzlies, co-host of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast. And Damichael, good morning. Welcome to the Rose Spot. Hill, Joe Shasky. Good to hear from you again. And, boy, just when it seemed like the Grizzlies were about to turn around their season, Ja's out for the year, and now Desmond Bane's out for 6 weeks. I mean, this game tonight in Memphis, I know it's a special day out there in Memphis with MLK Day and everything. What a rough ride for the Memphis Grizzlies, man. I don't even know where to start with you, Damichael.
Man, what's going on, guys? But yeah, I mean, this is the season that no one really expected. You know, this is the year that, I mean, the Grizzlies, this youth group that they have, they're supposed to take that step forward. We know how familiar you guys are out there with Dillon Brooks. Well, the Grizzlies let Dillon Brooks go. They brought in Marcus Smart. And we didn't know how it would work those first few games while Ja was out. But when Ja got back and Marcus Smart was playing and Jaren and Dez kind of took these elevated roles from the first 25 games of the season and kind of continued to play at those levels, it looked good. I mean, they went on the road and they beat the Lakers. They beat the Suns. And then, boom, from there on, just everything went haywire. I mean, Ja, Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, even Jaren Jackson Jr., who is, you know, I guess reasonably healthy, right, has been dealing with knee contusion. Then you already count that Steven Adams and Brandon Clark are. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this. I was asking the Grizzlies players the other day after Desmond Bane went down, I was like, have y'all seen anything like this in your playing careers? And no player could really recall something like this. I think one of the guys was like, maybe my ninth grade AAU team, but that's just how bad it's been.
Man, Damichael Cole joining us on the Boxer Gerson guest line here. Did you really believe, I couldn't believe it, I can't believe I'm admitting this, that you guys actually do miss Dillon Brooks?
Right? You know what? It's tough to say because I really don't think so. I mean, it looks like it because of the results that we're seeing, but if you look at the way the Grizzlies played when they finally got healthy and had Marcus Smart in the lineup playing alongside of Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, they were fine. Right. You know, the first 25 games of the season, that was a fair statement. I was right along with you, but in terms of, and like, man, this team, you know, it just looked like Dillon said it himself, they don't have the swagger anymore. And he was a big part of that. I mean, we saw, you know, how he, you know, would look forward to say, I can lock down Steph Curry one-on-one, or Clay can't score on me. That's who I want to guard. Like, he brought that extra swagger, that confidence to this team. And then when he left, it kind of left. You know, the Grizzlies, they're not that same trash-talking team that we saw, you know, the last couple years. You know, they I guess they take more of like a humble approach now, and, you know, they say more of the cliche things in front of the team-first mindset and all that. So all of that is out of the window, you know, with Dillon. But at the same time, we didn't get to see it a lot. But when the Grizzlies were able to throw out Ja Morant, Marcus Smart, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., they looked like the 50-win team of the past couple seasons.
Can Ja be trusted moving forward? I mean, like, whether it's his body breaking down, because he always seems to be missing 15, 20 games, and he's a young guy, and I know that the league likes to rest people and whatnot, but he's had a variety of injuries, clearly lots of off-the-court issues where the league has had to step in. Is the organization, are they still able to trust him as the centerpiece face of the franchise?
I would say the organization trusts him more than probably the casual person. And you know, that's because they've kind of put, you know, these parameters in place around Ja. I mean, I like to point at Derrick Rose, who is another person who's injured right now. Derrick Rose and Ja Morant have grown very close during this time period. Just, you know, from a mentorship standpoint. I mean, if you listen to Ja Morant's the first time he talked when he came back after the 25-game suspension, it caught a lot of people's eye, one of his answers, in terms of he was asked. They asked him, you know, Ja, all these players around the NBA, we've heard it. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard it. Guys around the league say, hey, I'm trying to reach out to Ja. I want to talk to Ja. And we asked, you know, have you talked to former players, to veteran guys in the NBA? And he said, no, just my teammates, my family, and the organization. That's all I need. And it kind of, you know, people were kind of taken aback by it, but it made sense from the standpoint of the guy that he's referencing the most there is Derrick Rose. You know, Derrick Rose is, when the Grizzlies signed him, I say he's the one guy who he can look Ja Morant in the eye and say, I've dealt with the off-the-court stuff.
Right.
You know, I was a former MVP. I was that 6'2", 6'3" point guard who was dunking over people. I've done everything you want to do and more. And he can look him in the eye and say that, and Ja has to respect it. So that's the difference. And I think, you know, having Derrick Rose around has kind of elevated the trust that the Grizzlies have in him, having Ja Morant, that is, from an organizational standpoint, that he'll kind of turn it around going forward.
All right, you're a big-time basketball fan, Damichael. We got to know each other. You know your hoops as well as anybody out there. You've seen the Warriors situation from afar. They go 8-8 without Draymond Green over the last 16 games. What's your thoughts on Draymond making his return today out in Memphis, where you're going to be covering this basketball game?
Yeah, I want to see it. I really want to see it because from the outside looking in, it kind of, in a way, it reminded me of the Grizzlies situation, but from a different perspective. Like, the biggest thing with the Grizzlies this season is there hasn't been continuity. And it felt like with Golden State, it's similar. You know, every time I look up, it's like, oh, Kuminga's starting this game. Oh, they're going to start Brandon Podziemski this game. Oh, the fans are calling for Moses Moody to start. It's like it's so many guys. And Chris Paul goes in the lineup. Chris Paul's out of the lineup. Like, so many different changes. From the outside looking in, I'm thinking, how in the world? I know this is a veteran team that's been there, but how in the world do you establish chemistry when, I mean, no one even knows? It feels like you can ask 10 people out there, you probably get 7 different starting lineup combinations. Yeah. You know, so who should be the starting 5?
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it. But getting back to what I originally said, I want to see Draymond in that group because it kind of feels like, at least until the trade deadline, he's that last line of hope that can bring this team that consistency. His return is huge. I really can't wait to see, you know, like how he levels out things for that team, because if Draymond doesn't do it, then, because it feels like their last line of hope, at least until the trade deadline.
There's got to be some irony that the Draymond Green return coincides with a Memphis return, right? I mean, like, remember him in the playoffs going all Rowdy Piper, Hulk Hogan, as he got thrown out of that game and then was, like, cupping his ears to the crowd as they were booing him and he was hyping himself on out. Like, Grizzly fans must hate Draymond Green, right?
You know they do. You know they. But it's gonna. I feel like it's gonna be an easier adjustment for him because Dillon Brooks isn't here anymore. If Dillon Brooks was here, this would be the ultimate test for Draymond. Like, first game back, you go through all this. You know, the NBA puts you through these programs. You know, I call it the Ja. You know, it's exactly what they did with Ja Morant, right? So they expect you to not, you know, to come back, I guess, a little bit different. But the thing to watch there, this is a little bit, you know, off from the question and whatnot. But with Ja Morant, when he returned, because, you know, Draymond got the same kind of, you know, guidelines that Ja got when the league kind of suspended him without a timeline and basically said the key here is, you know, to get him some help and to work on, you know, some things off the court so he can be a better person. The thing here with Ja Morant, Ja kept saying, I have to be Ja no matter what. The key for Draymond will be to not lose himself, you know, in the midst of trying to be, I guess, the guy that the league wants him to be. I want to see Draymond keep that same fire from the standpoint of, you know, the vocal leader defensively for Golden State, talking a little trash, you know, blocking the shot and saying, get that out of here. You know, I don't want to see Draymond, you know, becoming a guy who looks like he plays for, you know, the Wisconsin Badgers or something. Like he has to keep that fire. You know, there's a certain edge that you don't cross, but it'll be interesting to see because I want to see him. You know, I think that's what makes Draymond Green, and that's what kind of, you know, the line with Ja. You know, it's like when he first came back, you kind of seen Ja tiptoeing a little bit. You know, he wasn't talking as much trash as we're used to seeing Ja talk and all that. But over time, he started to, like, loosen up and be himself, and that's what I want to see from Draymond.
All right, Damichael, we'll see you when you come out to the West Coast, man, when the Grizzlies visit us out here in the Bay Area. But in the meantime, we'll continue to read your great work at the Memphis Commercial Appeal. Keep up the great work out there. Enjoy today's game between the Grizzlies and the Warriors. Thanks for the time today, buddy.
All right, most definitely, guys. Appreciate you for having me.
Anytime. Damichael Cole, covering the Grizzlies, does a great job there. Co-host of the Locked On Grizzlies podcast, joining us on the Boxer and Gerson guest line.